I will be here imagining the world. I will imagine the way the world will be in 50 years, and the way our hearts come together, sealed like strokes of ink on a page of a book telling the story of our lives disseminated across all the oceans. We step out the door feeling the Oslo wind. We fall together into mystery, but we will find the answers together. There are words that are unread. No eyes have seen them, but they have a life of their own. Drinking in the rhythm, freed from the spirit of division, exonerated of all crimes. I have melody in my heart, and it was here since the day I was born. Since then, it has only grown. We descend into the fires where our works are tried, and we will see if they ever stand the test of time. Wounds across our bodies, from fighting voraciously, from our war waged bitterly, until we realize that death comes for us one at a time. Joyful, blistering love in this moment when we sing from our hearts. I long for beautiful times and places that existed only in our past. We write words with an ocean of our soul, and we pour our soul as ink upon the pages of lonely lives. The birds in the sky dreaming about the things, the stories, living in the stories that we wrote, flying through these universes and finding their own place in the most powerful play. I'm sweating so much that the sweat's getting on the pages of the book. Not good. Yes, I'm just reading some poems from True Daughter of the Soil, which is a book I wrote. One day I stopped being able to write. I couldn't write anything anymore. It was always my greatest fear that inspiration would leave me forever. To have the words no longer flow from me that would describe you. A serendipitous energy finds an end to the loneliness. A unity that only comes through reading your words and understanding them. Words frozen in time, condensing experience into expression. I'm fed up with your political ideologies, if they do not point to this one thing, that we are all equal, that human experience is shared, and in the sharing of this experience there's transformation and depth. After I lost my job, my life was like a dream. Where would I go? Would I live homeless on these streets forever? I still had her words on the page. I studied them and they inspired me, even though they were written 50 years ago. The voice still spoke to me youthfully, as if she was still alive. Meteors shower over our lives. We gaze at the sky, never looking away, pieces of dust falling to earth. While our motions will never reverse, all that is left is a chaotic dream, in which these pieces of dust reach us. There is always boisterous adventure, even in the dreams we share. No portraits can be painted except what has its root in the real world, or else those born blind would be the greatest painters in the world. In a sense, it is better to be born blind than it is to be born with the use of both your eyes. The world could be anything to you. You will never see the ugly things that thrive here. When the meteors are crashing down, you may as well be walking through a water park. Perhaps all you need are words. No sight is necessary to portray the virulence. Words you write, some nights of echoing power, that resonate down the generations. The words inspired me, even if they would inspire no one else. Words of love, depth, and resonance. The more I read of the words, the more they echoed in my soul. The more her thoughts became my thoughts. The more she lived in me. The more agony was felt viscerally. Scorn universes that can no longer be summoned. Every voice unique, every one of us finding our place in the same world where we belong as a family. Heaven opened its gates and greeted us, where we could live forever. But then I realized it was only a dream. All the things that I hate the most, mercy left behind, walking one way and never turning back. Moments where we think we have nothing in common. Moments where we forget the power of our own words and stop writing and stop expressing and stop thriving, when all we can say is we pray for this bad time to end, with no other action or comment to alleviate the poverty and helplessness we have fallen into. When we pray to God as our only means of resolution, we are weakened. We are powerless, impotent. I have driven through the city and watched the poor in the streets. I have walked through the world wondering how easy it is to sink to the bottom, and it can happen to any of us at any given time. We fight against apathy like a pandemic. When people are infected, they don't realize they are, until it is spread to others, and then it is much too late. I have sunk my feet into the waters of oceans I never thought I would find. I have watched currencies plummet in value, and I watched the savings of people fade to nothing. Labor never to be rewarded, value lost, families broken. Promises that were made when the sun was shining are broken in the midst of the dark storm. Lives that are joined to each other can be separated by things so inconsequential and banal. I walked down the streets again, greeting everyone I saw, no matter who they were. My phone was once stolen at gunpoint. I threw it and ran away, afraid for my life, valuing it more than I realized in that moment when it was on the line. She sent me a picture of herself lying on the asphalt in a parking lot in KwaZulu-Natal. She sent me a picture of herself walking through the streets of cities I would only dream about visiting. She sent me pictures of herself when she was younger, visiting several foreign countries, a life filled with adventure, risk, and chaos. She sent me a picture of the mountains in Eastern Europe, the flight landing and the glare of the sun through the window. And she sent me notes about all the conversations she had with all the people there. And I came to realize that we are all the same. There is something in the eyes of each person that lights up when they connect with another. There is something in our minds that desires to have love forever till the end of our days. There is something like truth of hope for the future, despite the always present anxieties that threaten to bring us down. I was sitting in class during my senior year of high school when all these pictures flooded my phone. I put the phone away into my pocket and can barely keep myself from looking at them. And then she sent me beautiful poems that inspired me to paint portraits of her world. And I opened Illustrator on my PC when I got home and painted the most beautiful things I'd ever seen in my mind. And from then on I realized I would love her forever, and I felt like I would be eternally dreaming. Turn the page here. Eternally falling. The next summer, I saved up my money and visited her in South Africa that Christmas. It was the best time of my life when I told her all the things I felt during my life. She told me that she felt them too. I told her I loved her, and she said, I love you too. So those are just some poems from my book, True Daughter of the Soil. A progress report is I've not yet made 1% of the journey yet, but I'm half of 1%. And also, this week has been, I've just been feeling so much anxiety recently, just trying to get over that, but we'll see what happens. Trying to improve my life one step at a time, literally. And everyone have a really good night when this video comes out, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. And hopefully you enjoyed my poems. Those are just some poems from this one book, True Daughter of the Soil. So let's pause for a thumbnail.